Hey guys, Sonic Smashbro here with BlazBlue Cross Tag Battle News. Yes, we now have the patch notes for the upcoming patch that will be happening fairly soon. We don't know exactly when. So, here's how this is going to work. I'm going to attempt to discuss absolutely everything about this patch, not only before it drops, but after it drops. So here's how this is going to work. With what we're going to be discussing today is the universal mechanics before we move on to individual characters. Now, with how characters are going to work, if I know for a fact what those changes are going to mean for that character, then I will do their video before the patch. However, if there's anything I'm not certain of, like assist changes and whatnot, because there will be assist changes coming up, so look forward to that, then that will have to wait until after the patch drops, so I can get a feel for what those assists actually are, how they're going to change the character, whatnot, things like that. So with that, let's start things off with the universal mechanics changes for the upcoming patch to BlazBlue Cross Tag Battle. No, I'm not Gordo, and in fact, you're in for a surprise. And quite a nasty surprise, because the very first thing we're going to be looking at is cross combos. This mechanic has basically been defining the metagame. When cross gauge is above 50%, the auto-depletion rate of cross gauge is now increased. Basically, when you call cross combo in neutral situations, which is basically not burning the bar, let me actually set this to where... Okay, need to go to basic settings. Cross gauge will be default, and scale gauge default. When you call it in neutral, the first half of that meter is going to be draining faster. The second half will not be. It's going to be draining as always. So basically, if you were to do cross combos for actual combos, and let's just say you pop cross combo Ven, that part of the meter is going to drain the same as ever. But if you call it in neutral with over half your meter left, that part is going to drain faster until you get to the 50% mark. Think of it as something like Vias and custom combos in Street Fighter Alpha 3. Similar kind of thing. Additionally, the timing to which the partner character's invincibility time and hurt box become active has been changed. This is to prevent probably one of the most toxic setups in the metagame. I dropped the combo, but you get my point. The invincible EX Grim Reaper. And the entirety of those cross combos is, and still will be by the time the patch drops, raw damage. You cannot recover any of that health whatsoever if you get hit during cross combo. Any health that was recoverable health before the cross combo activation will still be recoverable. But anything up to a distortion or the cross combo meter running out will not be. To demonstrate what I'm getting at, notice how there was no red health? That is all raw damage. To be honest, I would have liked to have seen that fixed, but oh well. The next thing to talk about, and this is a pretty notable one as well, reversal actions, otherwise known in most fighting games as a DP. They have changed things up a little bit. The properties will change if used while a partner character is coming in for an assist. Entering for an assist, as the notes say here. Removes invincibility frames and no longer flashes red. This is to prevent DP assist setups like that. That's not a true setup, mind you. It's one of the few things Ruby Gord does not have. But something like this. That kind of thing will no longer have invincibility if you use the assist. Meaning you have to actually commit to a raw DP and be ready to suffer the consequences if it fails. Personally, I'm fine with this, even though I am one of those players who, for a while, used this quite a lot and almost constantly. There are times where I would still use it every once in a while. Notably in air unblockable situations, I'll try using it just in case a safe jump happens. But other than that, DP assist setups being removed, I'm actually pretty grateful for, personally. DPs will still be in the game, but DP assist setups will not have the invincibility, meaning you are going to get punished very hard for that. So, you might want to break that habit if you're one of those players who uses it constantly. Additionally, there is one other change. You can no longer activate cross burst while taking damage during a reversal action, regardless of counter hit or normal hit. Not entirely certain what that specifically means, but if anything, it does mean DPs are a better answer to waiting for the meter to fill up. Okay, you know for a fact they're going to burst immediately. DP right before the meter fills up all the way, and there you go. I think that's more what they're trying to improve upon, and if that's the case, that's really good. Alright, the next thing to talk about is guarding. Guarding for a certain period of time will grant bonus proration to skill gauge increase rate, basically your EX meter. What proration basically means is scaling. Basically, if you're guarding for too long, you are getting less meter in the long run. You've got to play a little more offensive. This, I personally feel, is an amazing change. It does weaken a lot of the campy runaway playstyles that some characters should not be able to do. While at the same time, zoners don't really guard too terribly much anyway. They're more trying to keep you out, like New in particular. But as a whole, I am fine with this change just because it does promote at some point you getting aggressive, and it gives you less meter to use on the next thing we're going to be talking about. Next thing to talk about is the reject guard system, more commonly known as push block. Increased guard recovery, and you can now grab an opponent with normal grabs during their guard recovery while their reject guard is in cooldown. Not entirely certain what that means, but what I'm pretty sure of is push blocks are getting nerfed. They are very prominent at preventing a lot of brawler characters from being really strong. This is pretty much the only exception to me not knowing a change offhand. I will update you guys on that situation once the patch is out and we can get a better feel for it. But just to kind of give an example of what exactly push blocking is, let's actually see if we can get a better shot at this. We'll discuss the personas later. What I'm trying to show off is this. That is push blocking. Yeah, that has been very prominent because characters like Gordo can get a free hit pretty much as soon as their push block is over. What I think that's trying to do specifically is prevent situations like that, where you're stuck in recovery a little bit longer so you don't get a free setup off of it. It's supposed to reset to neutral. The thing is, they didn't fix what my personal problem was with push blocking, and it's true resets to neutral. What this is going to do, more specifically, is make it so that you yourself, when you push block, cannot act for a slightly longer period of time. At least that's what I'm thinking. And rather than actually resetting to a proper mid-screen, like right about here, with everything at 0, they're not fixing that issue. And personally, I don't know how to feel about that, but it's something, I guess. Next thing to talk about is hit stop. Change the behavior when hitting multiple characters or objects. Basically, happy birthday situations, hitting a persona and the character at the same time, things like that. Not entirely certain how they're adjusting it, but if it's to make it more consistent, I'm fine with that, to be honest with you. Next up, hurt boxes. Some hurt boxes have been enlarged, making it easier for attacks to connect. One of the most notable examples of this is Hyde, where his hurt boxes were kinda janky compared to a good majority of the cast, and I can say the same thing with Izuyoi as well. So, making that more consistent, I am personally fine with overall. Next, we're going to be talking about distortions and distortion duos, otherwise known as DHCs. For distortions, they adjusted the attack power and minimum damage guarantee based on skill category. Now, what skill category means, I'm not entirely certain. Whether it's like a physical attack, command grab, or projectile maybe, that's more what I'm thinking they're getting at. I'm not entirely certain right off, but what I do know is that this is going to be an adjustment that I will be testing out once the update drops. DHCs, however, increase damage for skills that do not hit partner characters. So something like Ruby's Petal Burst is a DHC, going to go ahead and set the meter back to demonstrate that. Press assist. That will hit the second character on the initial hit, but the rest of it will not hit. My guess is they are going to improve the damage on those. So, that's going to be an interesting change. I'm not sure how I feel about that, though, to be honest with you. I was pretty fine with how things were beforehand. No, it's just, I don't know how to feel about this one. Next thing to talk about is Resonance Blaze. Now, this is actually something worth noting, and so to demonstrate this, I am actually going to switch to Jin. Because Jin is a very notable character with something like this. Just going to have to let the loading screen play out. In the meantime, the specific change. For certain attacks that dealt more chip damage on guard as opposed to damage on hit, they now deal less chip damage during Resonance Blaze. One of the most notable examples of this that is very notorious is Toga. And yes, I do have the default color on because I didn't go back into the character select screen. One of it. So, guarding. And regenerate player 1 only just to make this easier. Look at the chip damage. That may not have looked like much. That, however, was huge. That's like 40% gone off of one chip. And that's safe on block. Whereas opposed to actually getting hit by it, would do less. Yeah, a significant amount less even. So those will now be doing less chip damage on block and resonance. Thank God. Okay, the next change to look at is Persona normals. Personas are now invincible against bursts, and they no longer get pushed back during reject guard, with some exceptions. Not sure what the exceptions are, but in situations like this, the Persona will no longer be pushed back. That's an interesting change. I kind of have to wonder how it's going to improve the pressure game of Persona characters as a whole. It's going to be a neat little change to see in action. I am kind of curious to see how people will change their gameplay style based on that. You might, actually. Alright, the very last thing to talk about is Astral Heats. Outside of minor bug fixes, that is, but we won't be talking about those. Now, as they are now, even these do chip damage on block, as I will demonstrate. Starting with the 1.5 patch, that will no longer be the case. They will do 0 chip damage on block. Granted, you don't have a reason for Astrals to be doing chip damage anyway, because if you're using them, they're going to kill no matter what. They are instant kills. To go ahead and do that while demonstrating one of my favorite combos. And dropped. One more time. Why is that harder to do than it usually is? There we go. That is not easy. But yeah, these are basically instant kills. Pretty much, these are no longer doing chip damage on block, not that that matters. So, that's just a little quality of life change and nothing more. So, what's my overall final verdict on the system mechanic changes? a lot of these I wholeheartedly agree with. The cross combo change is going to weaken cross combo neutral in the metagame, I feel. At least a little bit. It's not going to nerf it insanely. It'll still be there. But it's not going to be as important. DP assist setups no longer existing. I'm fine with that. Push block, I don't know how to feel about those changes personally. Hurt box is being made more consistent. Yes. Distortions, we'll have to see. And just the other stuff, it'll be interesting to see how personas are changed with the push block no longer applying to them for the most part. Resonance chip damage, thank God they changed that, because that got really obnoxious with Toga, something like Legacy Edge from New. Distortions like that. Astral's doing no chip damage on block. I mean, why does that matter? It's just quality of life. That's just my personal opinion. I'm overall mostly fine with the mechanics changes, and I feel like this is going to change the metagame for the better. Next video, we'll be discussing individual characters, or at least one at a time. Because, oh boy, there are some characters I can do right away that I really want to do. Some of which I unfortunately can't. I'll have to wait till the patch drops to do those videos. But until the first character breakdown for the new patch, later guys.